The observation deck of the Galactic Research Station hummed with nervous energy as Ambassador Crix adjusted his optical sensors for the third time that cycle. Below them, on the jungle planet of Verdenia Prime, a lone human figure moved through. The dense undergrowth with purpose that defied all logical analysis. "This is madness," muttered Dr. Vila, her scaled hands gripping the viewing console. "No sentient being approaches a wounded Shadow Maw voluntarily." Captain Torres nodded grimly, his 4 eyes tracking the human's movements. The creature in question lay collapsed beneath a massive fallen tree, its obsidian carapace cracked and bleeding luminescent blue fluid. A Shadow Maw stood 3 meters tall at the shoulder, possessed razor-sharp claws that could slice through starship hull plating, and had never been observed showing mercy to any living thing. They were the undisputed apex predators of 17 different worlds. "The human designation is Jake," reported Lieutenant Finn, consulting his datapad. "Standard colony surveyor, no military training, no xenobiology specialization. He should be fleeing, not approaching." Jake dropped to his knees beside the massive creature, seemingly oblivious to the fact that even wounded, a Shadow Maw could decapitate him with a casual swipe. The beast's 6 crimson eyes focused on the human, and a low rumble emerged from its throat that registered on their seismic equipment. "It's going to kill him," whispered Dr. Vila Dot, but Jake simply placed his hands on the creature's injured limb, examining the wound with gentle precision. The Shadow Maw's rumbling intensified, but the human showed no fear. Instead, he began speaking, in soft, measured tones that their sensors could barely pick up. "Can anyone translate what he's saying?" asked Captain Torres. Lieutenant Finn shook his head. "Standard human common, but the words make no logical sense. He's telling it that everything will be fine, that he's going to help, that it's a good creature." Ambassador Crix leaned forward, fascinated despite his growing alarm. Humans had been part of the Galactic Federation for barely 2 standard years, and their behavior patterns continued to baffle xenopsychologists across 12 sectors. This particular display was beyond any documented human behavioral norm. Jake pulled a medical kit from his pack and began cleaning the wound with antiseptic solutions. The Shadow Maw could have easily crushed his skull, yet it remained perfectly still, watching the human work with what could only be described as curious patience. "The creature is allowing this," observed Dr. Vila, her voice filled with scientific wonder. "A Shadow Maw is permitting a potential prey item to touch its injury." The human worked for nearly 2 hours, carefully extracting debris from the wound, applying healing gel, and wrapping the damaged limb with synthetic bandages. Throughout the entire process, he maintained a steady stream of what appeared to be comforting words, as if speaking to a frightened pet rather than a legendary killing machine. When Jake finished, he sat back on his heels and offered the creature water from his own supplies. The Shadow Maw extended its massive head and drank carefully from the human's cupped hands. "Impossible," breathed Captain Torres. "That level of trust, ... We've never documented anything like this." The truly remarkable events began when Jake prepared to leave. As he packed his medical supplies, the Shadow Maw struggled to its feet, testing its bandaged limb. The human steadied the creature, providing support as it regained its balance. Then the Shadow Maw did something that would challenge everything the assembled scientists thought they knew about apex predator behavior. It lowered its head and gently pressed its snout against Jake's chest in what could only be interpreted as gratitude. Jake smiled and scratched behind one of the creature's dorsal spines. The Shadow Maw's rumbling took on a different quality, almost like the purring of some massive, deadly cat. "Record everything," ordered Ambassador Crix. "The Xenobiology Department will never believe this without complete documentation." As Jake began walking back toward the research station, the Shadow Maw followed. Not hunting, not stalking, but walking alongside the human like a domestic companion. The creature's movements showed clear deference to Jake's slower pace, and it positioned itself between the human and potential threats from the surrounding jungle. It's protecting him, realized Dr. Vila. The Shadow Maw is actively protecting the human. The pair made their way through terrain that should have been deadly for any lone human. When a pack of razor wings descended from the canopy, the Shadow Maw released a roar that sent the smaller predators fleeing in terror. When Jake stumbled crossing a rocky stream, the creature's tail provided steady support. By the time they reached the station's perimeter, word had spread throughout the research facility. Every available scientist and support staff had gathered at the observation posts to witness the impossible sight. Jake approached the main entrance with his unlikely companion beside him. The Shadow Maw's presence triggered every security alarm the station possessed, but the human simply placed a calming hand on the creature's flank and spoke to it in those same gentle tones. "Sir," Lieutenant Finn addressed Ambassador Crix urgently, "protocol requires we deny entry to any Class A predator. The safety regulations are explicit." Ambassador Crix studied the scene below. The human was now sharing his rations with the Shadow Maw, breaking off pieces of nutrition bars and offering them to the massive creature, who accepted each morsel with careful delicacy. "Override the protocols," the ambassador decided. "We need to understand this phenomenon." Dr. Vila activated the station's external communications array. "Jake, this is Dr. Vila from the research station. Can you explain what happened down there?" Jake looked up at the observation deck and waved. "Hey there, Doc. Found this big guy trapped under a tree. Figured he needed some help." "You realize that creature is capable of killing you without effort? Max here?" Jake patted the Shadow Maw's armored shoulder. "Nah, he's just scared and hurt. Aren't you, boy?" The scientists exchanged bewildered glances. The human had named the apex predator Max and was treating it like a beloved companion animal. "Jake," Dr. Vila continued carefully, "Shadow Maws don't typically form social bonds with other species. Maybe nobody ever tried being nice to one before." Jake replied with a shrug. "Max is pretty smart. He knows I helped him out." As if responding to his name, the Shadow Maw turned its massive head toward the communications array and released a series of complex vocalizations that their translation software couldn't parse. "It's trying to communicate," whispered Lieutenant Finn. Over the following days, Jake and Max became the most studied pair in the research station's history. The human continued treating the creature with the same casual affection he might show a dog, while the Shadow Maw remained constantly at his side, displaying protective behaviors that defied every established xenobiological principle. The other humans in the colony adapted to Max's presence with remarkable ease, as if having an apex predator wandering their halls was perfectly normal. The alien researchers, however, struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. "The implications are staggering," Ambassador Crix reported to Galactic Command. "If humans possess some innate ability to form bonds with Class A predators, it could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies relationships." Dr. Vila had a different theory. After weeks of observation, she presented her findings to the research team. "I believe," she began, "that we've been looking at this backwards. The question isn't why the Shadow Maw bonded with Jake. The question is why Jake saw a wounded creature and felt compelled to help, regardless of the danger to himself." She pulled up holographic displays showing Jake's interaction patterns. Humans appear to possess an emotional response system that overrides basic survival instincts when confronted with suffering. They call it compassion, and it seems to be universal among their species. Captain Torres studied the data. "You're suggesting that compassion is a defining characteristic of human behavior?" "More than that," Dr. Vila replied. "I'm suggesting it's their greatest strength." Jake didn't calculate risk versus reward. He simply saw a creature in pain and acted to alleviate that suffering. The Shadow Maw responded to that genuine care. As if to prove her point, Jake appeared in the corridor outside their meeting room, with Max padding silently beside him. The human was teaching the massive predator to navigate the station's doorways without damaging the walls. "Good boy, Max," Jake praised as the creature carefully maneuvered through the entrance. "See? Just like we practiced." Ambassador Crix watched this impossible scene and finally understood. Humans didn't see apex predators or Class A threats. They saw individuals capable of pain, fear, and gratitude. They saw beings worthy of compassion. The report he would send to Galactic Command would change humanity's status within the Federation forever. A species capable of turning apex predators into companions through simple kindness represented something entirely new in galactic civilization. As Jake and Max disappeared down the corridor, the ambassador made a note in his personal log. The galaxy had underestimated humanity from the moment they'd achieved faster-than-light travel. Their technology wasn't revolutionary, their military wasn't overwhelming, and their intellect wasn't superior to established species, but their capacity for compassion, he realized, might be the most powerful force the galaxy had ever encountered. Chat controls Sonnet 4.